The truths and fallacies of the ego death. This one I find is one of the most amusing ones out there. And every now and then I get a comment of, people, these highly egotistical people, and they say, well, first of all, they say that I'm egotistical, and then they say, oh, well, when I went through my ego death, and when I went through my ego death, so you went through an ego death, so you no longer have ego, therefore there is no I. But hang on a sec, you just used I in your sentence. Let's analyze this, shall we? Ego death. What does it mean? Literally. Because we have to take words, definitions, literally. Especially today. Why do I say this? Because otherwise we can have something that is a gene therapy injection and suddenly we can just change the definition of vaccine and suddenly it's a vaccine. Do I make my point? Yeah. What, we can suddenly say, today this is a pear. No, tomorrow it's an apple. Okay, now it's an apple. Who cares? Red's green, blue's white, hot's cold, snow's fire. Yeah. We need to look at definitions, and definitions come from literal. So what is your ego? Most people think ego is something bad and terrible, and your ego is let's imagine a computer. So your ego is the Windows screen into your computer. Your computer is your program. Yeah? It's literally the operating software in the hardware. It is your subconscious mind. Your ego is your window into your subconscious mind. Your ego is there to keep you safe. Rightly or wrongly. If it goes too far, it's too stressed for too long, it shuts you down into anxiety, into depression because you didn't do anything about it. It will create unwellness, it will create illness, yeah? It will stop you jumping off a cliff when it's too high. It will protect you from things it interprets as negative. Unfortunately, it interprets those things as negative based on your filters and your beliefs. So if you are, we can say, if you are highly Christian, you will shut down a Buddhist belief simply because it's Buddhist. If you are a conservative or a Republican, you will shut down an idea simply because it comes from another party. Yeah, I mean, obviously those are stupid things to shut down, but you do it, your ego does it based on your beliefs. Yeah, your belief is, in July it's hot, so I don't wear a jacket. And then there's suddenly a cold day and you don't take a jacket with you because you're in July, or vice versa. You get my point. And it's amazing to see how many people actually do things like that. They'll wear a jacket in 20 degrees because we're in February. So that is what the ego is. So if your ego is your window, your view panel into your subconscious mind that is there to protect you and keep you safe, rightly or wrongly, an ego death is to kill that. To kill that window means to turn off your computer. To turn off your computer means to shut down your subconscious mind. If you have no subconscious mind, you have no memory, you have no recollection, you have... The closest medical term to this will probably be you were suffering from extreme dementia. There's no you left. You cannot identify with anything. Now, yes, I get it. Some people say, no, but the gurus that are out there, they speak in metaphors and they don't speak directly to a person, and therefore they've had an ego death because they don't identify with. That's a way of speaking. We can all talk in stories and metaphors if we want to. You just have to learn the language. To present yourself that way does not mean to say you've had an ego death. And as soon as you still have an I, as in me, you haven't had an ego death. It's impossible. It's just one of these silly nonsense yogic beliefs that have been passed down and exaggerated over time, basically to keep it impossible to get anywhere. It's much like the Christian ideology of do everything I say and after death you'll go to heaven. You know, it's and don't and you'll go to hell. It's the same thing. It's putting things, you know. However, there is something that isn't ego death, and this is the important thing here. It is connection to the one, to the whole I, not the individual consciousness, to the collective consciousness, the collective ego or window of that ego. So the ego death is so badly named, it should be the opposite. Now we can say it's dissolving the ego. No, it's not dissolving the ego. It is connecting. When you have a computer that is standing alone, it only has a certain capacity. When you connect that computer to the internet, it becomes something very different. We could take this further. Once, AI is coming out, okay, AI at the moment isn't what they claim it is, but it will be soon. It will be a thinking thing. So when, rather than an analysis thing, it'll be a thinking thing. And when it's a thinking thing, when we connect a computer to that, it will increase its capacity of what we can do with it greatly. But the computer's still there. Now, if you want to take this to literal definitions, let's take this to the definition of the Matrix, shall we? In the Matrix, Neo is offered the red pill or the blue pill. And everybody, when they watch that movie, say, I would take the red pill. Really? Would you? If you don't know what is beyond, which you don't, would you take the red pill? Would you leave everything that you know right now, all your friends, all your family, all the knowledge, everything you have, and take a red pill? You might say yes. But yeah, most people won't. When you have an awakening and you go as high as you can go, and you get to the point of choice, most people don't get there. But when you get to the point of choice, of the few people that actually will ever reach that point, maybe 1 in a million will take the step. Some aren't allowed to. Some are sent back. Others are given the choice and they can go through. But most people don't get there. Those that say they would take the red pill, they're fooling themselves because they wouldn't. To have an ego death would mean to rip up everything you ever know and your whole subconscious mind to step into something that you do not know. That's what it is. So it does make me laugh when people say, you seem a little egotistical. I'm a teacher. I teach. I point out to people mistakes. I welcome people pointing out my mistakes. The problem is I know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a very long time. So people point out the most basic of basic things that are just wrong. But when people can actually show me things, I take it on board. Things that they can explain, that they can prove, as it were. But, you know, I've seen a lot. I've gone a long way. So to come along with basic stuff, it's just like, come back in 30, 40 years. And of course, that is considered egotistical from their point of view. I get that. But a teacher must analyze what a student does and give them the information to move forwards. That is the job of a teacher. Otherwise, you're not a very good teacher. Now, it doesn't matter how, okay, yes, it might matter a little bit how you explain it. But what I mean is, to talk in metaphors, so I appear to have no ego, or to just speak directly to a person, why waste time? Just speak directly to a person. Do I have ego? Yes, of course I have ego, because I'm still here. Because ego death means the death of my whole subconscious, the whole of my program, the whole of everything, which means I am no longer here. Or my body's here, but I have no mind. Clinically, dementia. Yep. Think about that. The nonsense that people talk about today as far as yoga and Tantra and what they think they know and what that actually is, and yet it's right in front of their faces. Whether we call things Shiva and Shakti, or Christ and Sophia, or Christ and Holy Spirit, because obviously Sophia got substituted by Holy Spirit, you know. Whether we call it Isis and Osiris, it's all the same story everywhere, shouting out, and people are just too caught up in their ego. That means disconnected from consciousness. They are so needing to be right, because obviously my ego always tells me I know better than the other person, unless I have a program that runs saying I respect this person. That program used to be the type of thing of, oh, they have a New York bestseller, therefore they must know what they're talking about. These days, it comes in the form of, oh, well, unfortunately, and I wish I wasn't saying this, but unfortunately it's true. Oh, well, he's got 10 million followers. He must know what he's talking about. He's got 3 Oscars and made 10 movies. He must know what he's talking about. He's got a following, or she's got a following, or... To listen to someone speak for 5 minutes doesn't mean you know everything they know, and to assume that is a mistake. Because if you sat down and listened to 5 minutes, let's have Sadhguru speaking, or Osho in one of his talks, just 5 minutes or 10 minutes of one thing, and you assume to know everything they knew, and you made a decision based on that, it's like, that's ego. Rather than saying, yeah, not quite sure whether I like what this person says, let's find out some more, let's see, or vice versa. Because there are certain things. Eckhart Tolle. I've seen videos of Eckhart Tolle that he's just been plain wrong in the advice he's given to people. Absolutely plain wrong. Nothing to it. Bad advice. Yet other times, the information he's given to people is absolutely amazing. Yeah. Ego death. It's not what people think it is. To make decisions based on ego is the problem. To understand that ego is something there to protect your personal beliefs and not question them, to not grow and act from that point, which is what most people do, that is the problem. Once you, as I said, have connected to the energies, we can say to the 3 Shaktis that connect to the 3 Shivas. I haven't talked about this yet, the 3, but and we go from being the unconnected computer to the computer connected to the internet, we will change. And when we do that consciously, it becomes very different. If you want to learn how to connect to the Shaktis and the Shivas, to learn to awaken, not just have partial risings. Because again, lots of people say, oh, I've had 5 awakenings over the past 10 years. You don't have 5 awakenings. Once you're awake, you're awake. You can have 5 risings of Shakti that don't connect to Shiva, then it comes down again, and therefore you can have another rising. If you wish to have an awakening to connect Shakti to Shiva, come join me for one of my trainings at theawakeningenergy.com. Remember, if you've liked what you've seen here, interact with the video. And this is not just with me, this is with any video you like on any social media platform. Interact with the video, like it, comment, share it with people, because then you will get more, the algorithms will give you more of what you interact with. Because these days, you can be sub to 5,000 channels, so the algorithm doesn't know exactly what you want. But if you interact with the videos and you watch the whole video, you are telling the algorithm, I like this, I want more. So do that on every video you like. Not just mine, if you like mine, on all of them. See you in another video.